Hello, welcome back to Random BS. I'm still getting better from the mold. I still have some rashes on my face. The last time I recorded a video, my notifications were on. I was explaining so much stuff for an hour and 15 minutes with my notifications on. I know that must have been really annoying. So I was explaining basically who I was or who I am, what my education is, how I came to be, and all this. Anyway, before I get to anything, I would like to shout out to Lauren Blair, who is my very goofy daughter, who does YouTube videos now. She started off doing a few things while everyone's been on lockdown because she's on furlough, doing stuff on Facebook, just like live and having people come in, and people enjoyed her goofy butt. So then she posted on Instagram and now on YouTube and TikTok now. So she is really goofy, but she does makeup, and well, she's learning how to do makeup, and so she wanted to do a makeup channel, but so she lets everyone know that she's learning to do certain things, and she just chats a lot like her mother while she's doing makeup. So shout out to her if anyone's interested in goofiness or makeup. It's Lauren Blair. Okay, so people are just exploding. Like, okay, I'm not saying anyone's name, so I'm still, conducting research on social media and reading a lot more lately because people have been saying things, and it's not that I want to prove them wrong, but it helps me focus sometimes on seeing other things that I need to be looking for. But this guy is absolutely nuts. So last weekend I was on his page, and it was a conversation about religion, and so of course here I am, let me put my 2 cents in, and was actually telling people that they're wrong about whatever, and I don't really like to do that, but sometimes you just can't help it. But anyway, I just pulled it up because I was going to read that post to you, to just show you how ridiculous people are sometimes. But anyway, this is a new one, from 13 hours ago. Shout out to former Florida Pastor Richard Desmick of Vero Beach for truly showing how white privilege exists. He ran 2.5 miles during the day wearing a backwards baseball cap down a southern residential neighborhood. Carrying a flat screen, not one person attempted to stop, detain, or apprehend him. He waved to onlookers. He walked into a house being worked on. He was given a tour and told to come back and see the finished product. He is white. He sat next to his mother and asked her if she was worried about his safety while running down the street, no shirt, carrying a flat screen TV. She replied, "Of course not. This is what we, as a nation, need more of. Instead of taking a blind eye, let's have more white awareness. That's the real answer to being colorblind in the justice system." Well, I mean, this is an issue, of course, because people keep talking about it. So here he is, he's made several posts about white privilege. And the more you talk about it and the more you give into it, the more people are going to fight, and the more you're going to see this crap, and you're going to only see it in your own point of view. Take a different perspective. So he has a problem with white people, obviously. And I didn't know that from his first post. I was actually laughing at a lot of the things that he said, because I don't really see too many people in my bunch of about 5,000 friends on Facebook just spewing crap out of their faces about religion as honestly as he did. And I thought he was really looking for an answer for the first post I read of his, And he was actually clowning around, just to say there's no such thing as God, and there's no such thing as Jesus, and there's no such thing as religion, and blah, blah, blah. The only part I believe in is there's no such thing as religion. So, anyway. But then I started noticing, like, he's really just kind of angry and obnoxious. Like, stop talking about race and it will go away. It's like the government did this, or the powers that be, the 1%, the elite behind the everything, running the matrix, running your lives and whatever. And it's called divide and conquer. Because when there's unity, if you believe that we are one consciousness, they could not ever get through to us. So for thousands of years, they've been dividing and conquering. They made up the social construct of race, and everything is divided. So it's race and different religions and different versions of the Bible. Like, how many do you need? Okay, so I just, like, that was obnoxious. People are just being so random lately. Like, I'm just not used to this. And I mean, it's kind of a good thing. Unfortunately, some of the things that people spew are because that's what they were taught. Let's see. A bartender, 2 wedding planners, several former hedge fund managers, a politician's kid, half the staff at Fox News, and a con man walk into the White House. ... And then someone said, "What's Joe Biden and his family doing at the White House? By the way, you left out rapist, child molester, creepy Alzheimer's patient on Biden's description." And then on another one, want to see the start of World War III? Stop all media outlets from airing any form of Donald Trump. Alright, was it his birthday? I didn't wish him a happy birthday. Oh, somebody else's birthday. Okay, religion. Place your hand on this book. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Me. Yeah. I'll tell you about the same amount of truth as you have in that book. That one's worthless. That one's worthless. Oh, yeah, I think I commented on this one the other day. To the idiots, capitalized, holding up signs at the rally in Springfield. All that said, let my people go. 1. What people were you referring to? 2. You're white. Your people have never, capitalized, been held captive. 3. You are the poster children for abstinence and late-term abortions. So there were 20 replies to this. Someone said a man called horse, white slavery. Oh, a man called horse, white slavery. Look it up, Einstein. And then the guy who posted the original comment said, that was a fictional tale. Wow, you need more crayons. And then I said, do you mean indentured servants? And then he said, there is no scenario during any time in history where whites were ever slaves. And then I said, they called them indentured servants. But I wasn't here, so I can't say I know because I didn't actually see it, and then there was the Holocaust. And then he said Jews weren't considered part of the blonde hair, blue eyes movement of Hitler, and they originated from the Middle East. So, and then I said, there are plenty of blue-eyed, blonde and red-haired Jews. And then he said, that is not the point of this post. White people inherently were never slaves. That's a fact. Well, first of all, he doesn't know if that's a fact, and second of all, it kind of was the point of your post. Just because you see people as one thing and they are actually something else doesn't mean that it's not the point of your post. And then I put, I have no response because the words never and everyone are general, and there were white slaves during the Holocaust, which is also a fact. But I heard that from people who were actually there. How do you know white people were never slaves? And then he said, because my first wife's father still has his identification numbers that were placed on his arm. I listened to their horror stories of despair. They were not capitalized slaves. They were prisoners. I also listened to my grandma. I have pictures of her at the plantation her parents lived on. The rickety sharecroppers shack that they worked out of. That's how I know history. So I said that was one person's story. There were prisoners and slaves in both. There were slaves for some of the companies we know of today who were part of the Holocaust, which, by the way, was like Beamer and Volkswagen, Coca-Cola, IBM, and about 15 more. Just saying. There were slaves, some of the companies today who helped with the Holocaust. And I said my grandparents left Europe in time, but many of their friends did not. I lived with the stories from the numbered arms growing up. So, not just prisoners. Sometime in the last few decades, a couple of the companies paid large sums of money to a Holocaust foundation for what they did to these people. There were actually slaves slaving for these companies that were aiding and killing their people, just in case anyone didn't know that. And then some lady said, how about the Greeks and Romans? They were European, so white, and some were slaves. They had all kinds of white slaves. And then somebody posted a picture I don't feel like reading with words on it. Oh, I'm guessing the guy was trying to show him a document that showed that people were slaves. I should probably look at that later, but not right now. And then the guy who posted it said to him, again, read your own proof of ignorance. They weren't slaves. They were allowed to live on land freely. They could own and operate land once their indentured servitude was complete. Stop trying to make white people into something they never were. And then the lady who said something about Greeks and whatever said there have been white slaves in history. Granted, it was ancient history, but they did exist. I don't understand what your point is. I think we can all agree that slavery is bad, and I'm fairly confident that no one reading your Facebook page has personally experienced slavery, meaning including him, so shut the F up. I think we can also agree that the protesters are idiots. And then the other guy who posted that picture said, stop with the black redneck propaganda everyone knows. And then another lady said, my ancestors were, and she put up a picture, looks like it's not large enough, but it looks like very skinny people, so probably the Holocaust. Anyway, people are just like so angry, and they just continue to bring this crap up. Like, once you stop talking about something, it goes away. Like, you be the stronger person. But they can't be. It's like, we're going to talk about race. We're going to talk about where we're from. I'm going to identify as this. White people suck. Black people were slaves. your, like, ancestors from way back may have been slaves, but you were not a slave. So please, STFU. Okay? And that's like, I wouldn't have brought up the Holocaust, except that I have to throw that in some people's faces sometimes when they talk about this ridiculous crap, because I wasn't a part of it. Were people or friends of the family affected by it? Yes. But I wasn't there. And war separates people. So for the elites to make us separate, for them to make it seem like we're not one consciousness, they have titled absolutely everything in life, okay? And it's really getting annoying. It's getting annoying because who wants to hear crap like this? And I know tons of people agree. Like, let it go, and it will just wash away in the sea, you know? But no. We have people just totally identifying with whatever they were told to identify. But who are you as a person? Like, who cares? And I'm not even being rude. Like, apparently it happened for a reason. The Holocaust happened for a reason. It's sad it happened. Slavery happened for a reason. It's sad it happened. And it was an experience for those who were in it. They went through it, they told their families about it, and you're still talking about it today. Okay. Lesson learned from history. But when you're so foul about it, as if you've gone through it, it disgusts me. I mean, the same thing with the Holocaust. I'll say, I'm not just going to say slavery, it's everything. Like, everything that you think this defines you, this does not define you. It maybe defined the people who had gone through it in the past, but it doesn't define you. And to continue to talk about the things that split us apart is really sad. That's why I just won't identify with race in general. I mean, when we were growing up, it was like, what are you? And people always want to know, like, where do you come from? Because it was so important that you define your race, your nationality, your everything, culture, because it was the best way for the powers that be, evil doers, to make us focus on that which is not really us. We are not a race. We are different colors of beings who live on different parts of the earth and become different colors and have different features because of that. So they think, okay, well, let's just give them race. Let's just also, let's divide the social classes. So, the darker people are bad people, and obviously there's disparities in the criminal justice system, where minorities are arrested more, are in jail or prison more than white people are. Okay, so there is your division of social class. And I mean, and it's down to the very thing. Yes, when I grew up, it was like, okay, European American. And everyone was like, I'm Irish, I'm this, I'm that, and that's how it was growing up. But you know what? You're really not. You're American. I mean, I was born here. I'm American. Yes, my grandparents were born in Europe. My mother was born here. And if anyone had a right to say I'm European American, it would probably be her. Her parents came here, you know. And I said it because it was what we were supposed to say growing up, but it's, I'm American. I was born in this very shameful, disgusting country. And really what you are, if you want to really get technical, you are the person that's in here that shows to the outside world. That's who you are. Okay, you're not a race or a color, because that doesn't tell anyone who you are. People like you. I mean, yes, some people like you because of the color of your skin and for whatever horrible things you might stand for. Or, you know, people are supposed to like you for the goodness that's in your heart. you know, for what shines through, for what you do for other people, not for anything else. And if you want to really say what you are is your culture. So I might be American, yes, but I'm culturally European because I was raised by Europeans. So you are your culture. You can't be something without being the culture. You know, that's like me having this issue, and it's not even an issue because I don't even care, because all my life okay, well, which one is my dad? I have a choice of 3 dads. Well, I am not whatever that person is because that person didn't raise me. And that's not being like, yes, I do say, well, you're not worthy of anything because you weren't here for me. That, yes, I believe is true. But that's not the fact. The fact, that's my fact. But the fact for anyone in this situation is you can only be yourself. And you can only be what you were raised to be. You can extend on that. So everyone is really only their culture. So if you weren't raised in a certain culture, you are not that. You can call yourself that, but you're not that. That's like me. Like, my mother raised me, so that is my culture. I can expand on, I can do whatever. We all become different people as we have experiences, as we grow up. But basically, that's who I am. So I'm not a color, I'm not a race, I'm not an alien. You know, even if I am an alien, I was raised as who I am. So, I mean, people like this just piss me off because it's like this never-ending battle of talking shit about, in his case, white people and white privilege. And in other cases, like for the things that I studied before, it's talking about people with brown skin and black skin. And first of all, I mean, nobody has white skin and nobody has black skin. I've never seen it. So that's just stupid anyway. Anyway, this conversation was so freaking annoying. He was concerned one day and said, "How's everyone holding up?" That was kind of cool. People actually respond to him, and sometimes it's a little heavier than a decent debate where it's kind of an argument, and people actually get back on because he's just so open and really honest. Uh-oh, I coughed. Let's see. Fact. Feelings are not transferable. You cannot be offended on behalf of someone else. Period. Okay? You know that one? No. No. It is it time for all religions to accept evolution as fact? I didn't read the responses. Oh, I must have. Because obviously I responded. Oh, well, these were pretty good ones because it kind of shows you how people think about religion and if anyone is waking up. And someone said they can't. Messes up too much of the story. Someone else said nope. And then he said, that's not a very open and welcoming stance. Doesn't your religion teach inclusion and objectivism? Someone else said, if we evolved from apes, then why are there still apes? And then He said it's called evolution. It's when a species adapts and changes some of its characterized features to adhere to new or altered living environments. Do you not see the different life forms that have evolved into other forms yet still retain their original copies? Did you know that humans and mice share the same frontal cortex and chest tissue? Yes, that's why actually they do a lot of experiments on mice. Why do you think mice, some snakes, and chimps are the primary use for research? Go ahead, I'll wait. And then someone said, Bill, yeah, give it up. He doesn't know. Doesn't want to know. Sigh. And then someone said, let's accept the story of creation. Isn't the supposed location of the Garden of Eden in southwest Africa? So that means Adam and Eve have the exact same skin tone as you. Funny how they are never depicted in relation to the geographical environment. I wonder why that is. And then someone said, hey, I'm trying to figure out how man and dinosaurs existed at the same time, but for some reason they are never not once mentioned in the Old Testament. And then the smartass said, the real miracle is a white boy born in Bethlehem. Then someone said, real talk. Then someone said, dinosaurs were here around 240,000 million years ago. Adam and Eve, somewhere around 100,000 to 200,000 years ago. And then someone said, so what were the dinosaurs walking on? According to biblical text, the earth was created in 6 days and God rested on the seventh. So I'm hoping he's not serious. And then someone said, so I guess those dinosaurs were left out of the creation because they predate the story of creation. And then someone said God created the earth way before he created man and woman. And then the poster said, okay, so let's dissect that statement. 1. God created Adam and Eve. 2. Adam and Eve created Cain and Abel. 3. Cain and Abel were married. To who? Did God create 2 more children, or did this family create incest? And then someone said there was incest back then in order to procreate. And then the poster said, cracks me up, so now you're saying that an imaginary figure said it was okay for sons to lay down with their mother to procreate. Is that what you're telling me? Because rape and incest go hand in hand. That being said, you follow the teachings of someone who advocated rape. Are you then telling me that you think it's okay to sleep with your own daughter if she so desired? Because the man you elected into public office thinks so. Oh, goodness. Right. And then some lady said to someone else, your lack of research really shows. And then she said to someone else, exactly, why didn't Adam and Eve have the pigmentation of their geography? And then she said to someone else, yep, you just went there. And then a guy said back to her, if you don't believe in God, then it is impossible for you to understand the Adam and Eve story and how their families were formed together. Gotta love that. If you don't believe in God, then it is impossible for you to understand the Adam and Eve story and how their families were formed together. I don't care if you believe in God or not. When you listen to that story, it sounds like a bunch of fucking redundancy. Seriously? Because, again, it's only part of the truth that was kind of changed around, and a snake, somehow serpent was talking with them, and right. So, because they understood snake, or because the snake could speak English? I mean, I don't, or whatever they spoke, Aramaic. Let's see how their families were formed together. I've done plenty of research concerning this entire subject, and I've just thrown out tidbits of information to you in this post because he is the genius on this. I spent 2 weeks in Israel this past fall studying the Gospels and seeing the sites where they actually took place. I respect you if you choose not to believe, and would hope that you would do me the same, because I do. And then someone said, not to him, but to the poster, did you ever hear of the New Testament? Do you know why God sent His only Son to earth? Oh, here we go. For just such things that you were talking about now. There was too much sin going on. People needed to change. God's creation had run amok. Kind of like today, God gave us free will. Many abused it, and many did not know better. I see the liberty of freedom going a little too far now, by not working to save the country from this pandemic. Just because I have the freedom or free will, I'll do what I want, whether it's a good choice or not. And getting back to the way Christ looked, He most certainly looked more like you. Okay, so the expert over here assumes she knows what Christ looked like. And this whole thing with free will really just trips me out. And I'm pretty sure I actually probably responded to her post, because whenever I hear that, I think it's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. So we were given free will. That is pretty much one of the laws. Because I know that you all listen to the laws down here, and I do too, because I don't want to get in trouble, but they're not the law of laws, okay? The universal laws are the law of laws. Laws of law. And I don't think people hear themselves when they say that. Yes, we were given free will, but then they talk about sin. Okay, so I know that God, or source, or whatever you call God, is not going to give free will and then take it back by saying you have sinned. Because there can't be sin if you are given free will. There can't even be punishment if you are given free will by somebody else. So the only way really to tackle that is to say, okay, these are the laws. We will start with, of course, there's the law of one, and I'm not going to talk about that. I may one day talk about them separately, but let's even just simply say with the law of attraction, because most of you know about that, whether you believe in it or not. So, and people talk about karma. Oh, you've sinned, so here's your karma, but yet we know you have free will. Okay, so that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, right? So, here's the law of attraction, and here you are living in your vibration. And so you have free will. So you do things that are typical to you, and you're in the vibration that you're in. And whatever that is comes back to you on that same frequency. So if you're in a mode where you're what they call sinning, and so say it's not really a nice thing that you're doing, no judgment on whatever, or I'm not even going to make up a hypothetical whatever, but you're doing whatever you're doing and it's not too nice, so it's basically on one of the lower vibrations, you will then get back what is on that frequency, and that's kind of how you get back what you do. So you're not actually being punished, you're doing something and you're getting it back, simply because you're on the same frequency of that, whatever you're doing. So I have to laugh at these people because they don't listen to themselves. They're like, yes, you have free will. Oh, but you've taken it too far. Where does it say that? Where does it say you have free will and I am God? And these people obviously have a sense of God to where He is perfect, which I believe to be true. Perfect and all-knowing and wouldn't make a mistake. So how do you not see that you're saying God gave us free will? Many abused it. Okay, well that's not, like, God wouldn't do that, because that's absurd. And so obviously you come to that conclusion because of the crap that they teach you in religious institutions. Because does that make any sense? Really, does that make any sense? Okay, so most certainly looked more like you. Okay. Then somebody said, wow, I would give anything to have that experience. Oh, because he went to Israel. I get all excited to walk where my forefathers walked. I can only imagine how it feels to walk the same roads Christ walked. And then the writer of it responded to her and said, I've read both Testaments, the Quran, and the Torah. All three speak of monstrous acts against fellow human beings. The New Testament simply made your God white because, yeah, all white child could be born to all black couple in the middle of the hottest place in the country, where 100% the population is completely brown. Your book condones slavery, killing your own grandmother if she touches pig skin. Really? Anyway, then somebody said to somebody else, I never said I didn't believe in God. You have no idea what I believe. 2 weeks worth of studying anything does not make one an expert. That's just silly. And it's true, because he had mentioned basically that he knows a lot of things. But what I think he meant was he studied a lot of things, plus, there's that plus word, plus he went to Israel for 2 weeks, so now he thinks he's an expert. But anyway, another guy said to her, that guy, you are correct. I do not know what you believe in. My mistake for assuming that you don't believe in God. For your information, I have been studying about this subject for about 45 years, and I certainly am far from an expert. And then I said to somebody, not that I believe what most of the Bible says, because the words were changed, but why would they talk about humans and dinosaurs existing together? If the Bible was written a few thousand years ago and dinosaurs were here millions of years ago, it makes sense that the people were writing about universal laws and or things going on at the time. And then I said to him, they would have been walking, because then he wanted somebody, same guy, asked about where they'd be walking if Earth wasn't created or whatever, because people don't really think, because they're all brainwashed. Anyway, so they would have been walking on Earth. Where else? I said. And then I also said to him, maybe look at what is left to be true. Maybe look at what is left to be true in the Bible as ages rather than days. Everyone is too literal when it comes to the Bible, and they also take much out of context, the truth and the lies. And that's true. So when you read the Bible, if you do, or if you've read the Bible, and you think of this in 6 days, I mean, not to say Earth couldn't be created in 6 days, but it really, like the way they have it in the Bible, makes it seem like here, 1 through 6 days, 7-day rest, creation, and then everything took off after that. And if you're reading that and thinking this happened a few thousand years ago, many people actually think that creationists only think that we've been here for a few thousand years. And then evolutionists, of course, don't believe that. They believe we've been here for millions, if not more years, billions of years. So I have like 100 Bibles. I don't know why. And that's why, like, in my last video, I explained that I had asked about my purpose. Well, there's so many things. I have my few degrees that I have, And then I have my experiences of other things that happen in my life. So the degrees and that, and the things that I've done, and the things that I've watched, and you put that all together, and I become the person who I am, who likes to forget about what she's talking about. And what was I talking about? Maybe look at what left in the Bible, ages. Okay. So I don't remember exactly what I was going to say, but I was trying to answer about the ages. So creationists believe one thing, evolutionists believe another thing, and then there's, that point of always being extreme, like humans, and they're typically extreme because they were taught by the powers that be to think one way, because that's the only way to think. Don't think for yourself, we'll think for you and tell you what to believe. And so people are so extreme because some people are like, yeah, that's not true, so they go completely to the left or completely to the right. Oh, kind of like the government, kind of like our political system. So everything is always just split up into everything. You're this, you're this, you're this, you're a left, you're a right, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're a liberal. It's just so ridiculous. Like, how many labels does somebody need? Your social security number. And in the Holocaust you were another number. And then like coming up soon you're going to be a COVID ID number. So you would have to think of it like kind of in the middle of the extreme, and like the top of the curve, and say that this in the Bible is spoken about in ages, not in days, because it would make no sense any other way, because Earth has been here for a very long time, not thousands of years. And I'm sure, science, I believe science, and sometimes I don't, because they didn't catch up with spirituality up until recently. And I'm not even going to say they didn't catch up. Things are always hidden from us, so they just didn't say, and they wouldn't agree in front of us. I'm sure they always wondered, like, the Big Bang was actually, the bang of consciousness, basically. Like, okay, I'm here now, how can I experience myself? And then we go on to us, but that's another story for another time. We would need to think of that in ages, because we've been here for a long time. And just to touch on that, like, here's Earth, and I won't discuss how it got here or whatever, but we have already mentioned that it is alive, it's consciousness. It bees, like it's being. And I know bees is not a word, except unless they're flying around, but that's what it does. It's here. The mountains, they are here. The plants, they are here. The mountains just sit. They're being. But with consciousness. Everything has consciousness. And I like to say everything alive, and then you think, okay, well, mountains aren't alive. But come on. Earth, mountains, plants, it's a different type of consciousness. It's a different kind of being. Just kind of like dogs. And anyway, so before any of it, before us, before animals, before anything was on this earth, it would be mountains, it would be the structure, it would be water, it would be just things that were just being before anything else was created. And you can consider that being an age, or even more. I mean, things happen, things evolve. So next, they would have been walking up where else, maybe look at it as ages. And then I said to someone, correct, for millions of years, nothing that was self-aware existed. That's a good way to say it. For millions of years, nothing that was self-aware existed. Only second dimension types of consciousness, such as mountains, waters, and trees. I mean, some people consider dogs second dimension conscious. They're not. They're just different. They're just, I don't even want to say they're not as intelligent as us, because a lot of us prove to be very unintelligent, so they just love, I think, their owners more than they actually love themselves. And we're just, not we're, but a lot of people, a lot of humans aren't like that. They're just a little more selfish than dogs are. And anyway, things like plants and bugs and whatever, their main purpose is basically to survive and procreate. Kind of like a microbe. It's just like replicating itself. I mean, that's basically what they do. I mean, we are different, so, but we're all consciousness nonetheless. Only second dimension, mountains, water, trees. Okay, and trees are so conscious. Seriously, just, I know you think that's weird, but I can communicate with them. It was so cute. Like my niece, we went to the Red something forest in California 2 summers ago, and my sister was like, "Oh, she's going to tell you now how she communicates with trees, and she hears them." And I don't know if she just, I know she thought it was cute, but I don't know if she thought her daughter could really do that or not, but you really can do that, because I love trees. Because of that reason. They're old. They're just, like, have stories to tell. Okay, so what did I say to him? Oh, right. With a question mark? Oh, right. The way they have it in the Bible, there had to be incest. Although, it does say that others were here at the time, which it does. Because we're not like the only people that were here. And don't for a minute think that humans actually created pyramids, please. Then I said to that lady, this is not research. This is people believing in a book that was stolen from the masses and burned, so the powers that be can change words to what they want people to believe, and people continue to believe it and share the lies with others. And then I also said to someone else, it is possible that people read or are told about the Adam and Eve story and choose to believe that most of the Bible does not make sense from that story alone. Do you believe that a serpent was the evildoer telling a human to eat from the tree of good and evil, or the tree of knowledge? Or did Adam and Eve understand snake? Or maybe God would not put a tree on earth that could not be eaten from? That makes more sense. What also makes sense is that the serpent was reptilian. So I said that to some guy, and then I said to some lady, free will means exactly what it sounds like, free will. God would not give free will and then punish people or say this is too much. This is not what was meant by free will. That would absolutely contradict free will. And then I said to somebody else, oh, I just don't ever stop talking, do I? Why would a second testament be written? Did God make a mistake the first time? Do these people hear themselves? Basically, they're saying God made a mistake the first time, as if he is not supposed to be all-knowing, and they also think it is okay to wear a cross of a crucified man on their chest to continue to show the murder of an enlightened being. How sad and brainwashed. Why not keep what he was sharing in memory, not his dead, murdered body? How disgusting and disrespectful. No one human is allowed to show enlightenment unless they are from Eastern civilization, such as Buddha, an enlightened man who was here before Christ and gave the same message. Was he crucified in Eastern civilization? Africa as well, and Mayans. Well, everywhere but Western civilization. Western civilization, probably ordered by the Pope, kill Jesus because he was enlightened, and hung witches because they are enlightened, and shut people up when they say too much on social media. Yes, I said all of that. And the people that I said all of this to chose not to respond to me. Only the guy who actually started the post does respond to me, but none of these people did. And I really hope, because sometimes when they really have something, they'll just say it, like, you're wrong, our sins, and Jesus this, and God that, because they know everything, right? And so they will typically respond to me. Sometimes when they don't, I mean, I could say, oh, they didn't think it was worth responding to, but I really think that sometimes they don't feel like it's worth it, but other times that they're actually thinking about it, and that would make sense. I can't believe me and this guy have 317 mutual friends. Anyway, so I said to somebody else, well said, and if people would go inside of themselves rather than getting all of the answers from outside sources, they would have answers to their questions. Instead, they do research that has its roots in lies. Many of us strive to find answers and learn to find those answers within, because truth should not be a struggle to find. It is only a struggle when people try to confuse the masses, and people accept this. And of course she did not answer me either. And then I said to someone else, I'm sorry, but you can study for 4,500 more years and you will never be an expert, because the answers lie within. You cannot conduct research based on lies. Come up with your own theories. Nothing that they have told us, and you will have better luck. And then the poster answered me from something I said a few comments back, I guess, to suit the needs and beliefs of those who want to control the narrative of religion. True, and I put absolutely. So someone said no because they don't like facts, and then someone said, of horseshoe crab, boom. And then someone said, since evolution is truth, death existed before humans existed. Therefore, there is no original sin. Therefore, all Abrahamic religions are invalid. Well, obviously, death existed before humans. I mean, because, like, animals die and plants die. And I never answered him. I should have, because... Right. Okay, anyway. And then the poster put, thank you, exclamation point 3 times. And someone else said, what makes you think God and evolution cannot both exist? Why do they have to be exclusive of each other? And then the poster said it's science. And then someone else said, I just explained why. Because he knows everything. And then she said, do you know what the original sin is and who it applies to? And then I said, they do both exist, just not the way everyone was taught to believe. And then someone else said about whatever, if not, Santa Claus is definitely real. And then some other lady said, I took it in steps. Went from Bible isn't literal to Bible is crap. Okay. And then the other lady said, that's interesting to me. I like that you just gave us a concise process that you went through. Seriously appreciate that. And then that lady said, sounds pretty intellectual, LOL. Open. And then someone else said, right, I just changed the section in my library from religion to fantasy. Great book of fiction that people follow as law. But the laws within it are designed to make people feel guilty for being human. Once I realized the science behind human behavior, that book was a wrap. Like you said, crap. People are not biologically designed to be monogamous. Let that sink in. And then she responded back to her, I figured it all out when my biology book, learned at Catholic University, pretty much convinced me that evolution had to be true. And then she said, I did some poking around other religions, but nothing ever made sense aside from a possibility, a sentient universe, which I'm still obviously unsure of. And then someone said, science and religion aren't friends. And then I said, religion is not a friend, just a man-made tool to control the masses. They have done an excellent job. And then someone put a meme shrugging his shoulders and then put something saying militant agnostic. I don't know and you don't know either. And then I said, LOL, a wise man once said, I know nothing. Which would actually be the truth of every single person who lives on this planet through their ego and wants to be religious or agnostic or whatever it is they are, but they're not spiritual, because you do know nothing. And I keep saying it, and I don't mean to be rude, but you can't just listen to other people's crap and then say you know something, because how do you know that what they're saying is true? 56 minutes. Religion is based on fantasy, not fact. They're like oil and water. She's got that right. And then someone said, evolution is an obvious fact. However, Darwinism is still just considered a theory of hypothesis in the scientific community. There is a difference. Is evolution, and you mean in evolution? In evolution and Darwin's theory, of evolution. And then I said, yes, and depending on how evolved one's spirit is in this 3D, from just being, as all living things have consciousness, to self-awareness, evolution shows consciousness differently, which is dependent on what is evolving from just being to self-awareness. Now, most of my other ones, I either got a comment from the poster or a like or something, and that one, everyone just chose not to, because they're probably like, what is she talking about? Anyway, that's funny, because that was not the original post I was talking about. I was on this other one last week, which I'll do, I guess, tomorrow. And it was a religious post. It's when I first started hearing him and his very open self to the public, and noticing that people, even if they argue with him, come back and discuss, because, I mean, in reality, we all wonder about things, right? But that was not that post. His post was, 8 days ago. So I was talking, or posting back and forth, telling people they're wrong about sin, and they're wrong about Jesus, and they're wrong about these things, and they're wrong about Jesus' message, is what I was trying to tell them. And they're telling me what they swear to believe, what they swear is true based on their belief system, which came from the powers that be, right? Religion, politics, whatever it is, everything that they all believe in. And I said, so she said she studied this and this, that, the other, and tried to believe in, the whole universe or whatever, but I'm basing mine on Eastern religion. And here's the thing, it's not religion, it is spirituality. And it's been separated, because everything has to be separated, obviously, divide and conquer. It was the way it was. It was spirituality. And it was then broken down by the powers that be to make it not just Eastern. Because we were all believed in the same thing. Because what was there? So I do the sewing social world whole thing with creating social worlds, because your worlds are sewn, right? So you have a community and it breaks off. So just like, even just take the Bible as a for instance. And so here are your people, and then, okay, well, they're moving from here to, so we have people in the Middle East, we have people in Africa, we have people that move to Europe, we have people that move to, not like Asia Minor, what we're talking about, but Asia, and we have people eventually move to America. So this social worlds that we're building is, here's the family, and then they've split up. So you're going to make a circle here, circle here, circle here, circle here, and a circle here. Because all of these people who were here, who split up, have the same beliefs. Because they were one, and then they kind of did their own thing and added to the culture. So, so they're building, or they're sowing social worlds. And to ever get back into the heart of it would be so hard with all the, not because it would be hard, naturally, because stories and cultures and things are kept. Which is why I have a problem with people who so fiercely are dedicated to the Bible and what they believe in, because there are so many things that people remember because their families keep it in the family, keep certain knowledge and certain things in their culture, like food and language and whatever, and that hasn't been lost. But yet we have such a problem with the Bible that it could only have been taken from the masses, which, I mean, we know this anyway, well, not all of us, but because it's here. I mean, you can look it up. So you wouldn't have to look it up. It would just be something you would know. I knew that, and I have all these Bibles, and I never read all of them, but I have them for a reason. And it's because I'm kind of rewriting some stuff, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But you would have to guess that, because if every single thing that you can remember from back in the day was because your ancestors passed it on and kept passing it on, you would have that same thing happen with such this great, fantastic Bible that was written by enlightened people. And some people think it was written by God himself, which is not so. But so, to me, if they hadn't changed it, and still, it's a very interesting book to read, but to me, she calls it fantasy. It's fantasy because of what they did to it. But to me, it's just a great history book. And it tells us how to live and how to be, and then things were changed. But it's obvious, without having to read, that it was once stolen from the masses and burned, and the words were changed, and it's obvious because everything else in culture has made it through pretty much intact. So that hasn't. Besides the fact that there's just too many copies, and then another testament saying that the first one was basically wrong, and so this is how it's done now. So there's just no way I'm going to believe in any of that. But yeah, I'm going to get to this other one because this one was really interesting. But anyway, so she was asking all of these questions, and I woke up late that day because for the past couple of week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been sleeping like 9, 10, 12 hours a day, and I don't ever sleep that long. But my whole sleep schedule obviously got screwed up, and plus the mold and all this crap that's going on, my schedule got even worse, and from being sick, I guess I really needed rest. But anyway, so I told her, so it was late, and I was like, okay, I have to actually go to work now, but I would like to answer all these questions. And then when I got home that night, I couldn't find the post because I didn't remember his name. And then I had so many notifications that I couldn't pull it up. Actually, it wasn't that night. That happened on last Friday or something, or last Thursday. The whole weekend I went, and then I think I looked for it 2 or 3 days later, actually. Sorry. And I had so many notifications that I couldn't find it, and I didn't remember his name, and I just finally found it, and I was like, yay, I found it. And that's when I was commenting on this other post. But this guy is something. There's another guy who likes to post a lot of crap too and argue with people. I just like, why don't you just say, I feel like arguing with somebody, so I'm going to post this. Oh, see? 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, and this post was 14th, 8 days ago. For 6 days, 6 days later, I finally responded. Yes, found the post. I lost it and have been trying to find it. So, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I have quite a few because this one, and then there's one in another group that's talking about all this crap going on with the COVID and why is everybody listening to Gates? Because, I mean, he's not a medical expert, so, I mean, I've been questioning the same thing. Because you go from Microsoft billionaire to multi-billionaire to you are the vaccine expert. So there's a lot of stuff with that I'd like to talk about also. But I'll probably pull up tomorrow the other religious one. And then it's funny because there's actually, I can read these and it keeps me a little focused as to some of the things that I wanted to say, but get a laugh as I'm doing it. I'll pull up the other religious one, and then after that I want to pull up the one on Gates because he's also in my book. Since I have 12 books to my one thought, I have a lot of information in there, and it starts off talking about basically the galaxies and how this spiritual warfare started and where that fight first began to now, because there's so much missing information and people talking about aliens as if they don't exist. And I don't know if you ever heard the Queen of England say that she's part reptilian and therefore her family line would be. And there's just a lot of crap like going around that people don't understand, or people think other people are crazy, and there's reasons for all of this. So it's going to be 12 books. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, it kind of talks about things in ages. So do understand that everything we're going through right now, this spiritual warfare, is from something that basically started I guess when humans were just almost as stupid as they are now, but more so. Just not quite smart yet. So, yeah, it just kind of starts off with all that, to where we needed help with things, and some people, whether it was from here or somewhere else, decided that we should not have to go in to find God, but we can do it other ways, like not the way we're supposed to, whether it be through portals or whatever the case may be. I can't really get into that right now because then I'll just talk for another hour, but or if we should go in, and we're supposed to go in. Like I tell people, that's where all of our information is. So you could bypass all of this, not that it would be so much fun, because part of the fun in the human experience is people like to do different things. Some people like to jump off of cliffs, some people like to annoy people, obviously. Some people like to do research, and people just enjoy themselves, but they're not enjoying themselves the way they should be enjoying themselves, and all that has to do with is knowing that you're free. I simply like to do research and do whatever, but I think there's mainly a purpose for that, because, you know, I kind of like to be on the beach or climbing mountains or doing things or whatever, but what's been in my life a lot is just a lot of studying of people and a lot of studying books and seeing things on the internet, but love it when I lose my point. That's what happens when you talk a lot and you sound like an airhead. Well, what happens is so much comes out when I'm talking that all of a sudden I'm just airy. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to come back with these other things. So, and then I'll probably read some of the start of my book, because it's really, that's what I was saying, how we're supposed to go in. So, and I think in the other one, I'm trying to explain to them that, because they're always talking about the kingdom, this, that, and the other, and Jesus is the living God in the flesh, and I tell them that's what we all are, and they like think that I don't know if they want to like burn me with a cross or something, but I mean, that's it. We go inside, and ascension basically is, since we're multi-dimensional beings, it's kind of like going up the ladder or taking an elevator up to the next floor, you know? It's consciousness, and it's different levels. And so when people think dimensions, they think that it's something outside of us. Like they think, you know, the universe is outside of us, but it's not. It's inside of us. Well, we are the universe. So the dimensions are just different levels of consciousness. And that's how people become awake, enlightened, and whatever. Once you basically have reached the 5th dimension, 6th dimension, whatever, you are enlightened. And that's what you would call Jesus and Buddha and a lot of people. Basically, there's a lot of enlightened people here, more so now than ever before, starting after World War II, because that was a nightmare. We needed to be here. Not just some people are here to shine light on people, but to change the vibration and to kind of not walk people through, but help people through all of this. Because it didn't end there, and nor did World War II. I know a lot of people would like to believe that, but this is kind of an extension of it. Hi, puppy. He's like, who are you talking to? But maybe worse. Because there's a lot of hands in this, and those companies that helped Hitler are still around, and there are some connections to those companies who are somehow in charge of our lives these days. And so, you know, I'm writing about that, and you know, people are asking tons of questions and fighting, and you're a conspiracy theorist, and all of you on YouTube are conspiracy theorists, and that's just not the case. But so there's quite a few of those posts on here, and I'd like to read them to you in the next couple of days, because we're going to start on these religious ones first, because I think it's important that people, and I will never say their names, but that people are aware of what other people are thinking, and actually to show people how brainwashed people really are here in the Matrix, because that is very important. Because as I listen to people try to teach other people about who we really are and how life is, and there are tons, like I said, there are a ton of us, we came down in waves from after World War II, and then each new generation have been coming here to help. And if you think that's far-fetched, it's not. But it's really important to talk about these things, because nobody really understands why all of these people are talking about this on YouTube. They're not lying, they're really just explaining. And it's very confusing, I'm sure, to people, because some people only want to know about the law of attraction. So they watch certain people. A good person to listen to for the law of attraction is Abraham Hicks. But again, her focus is that she is a channeler. Abraham speaks through her. So she teaches about the law of attraction, which is great. And then someone else, like Ralph Smart, pretty much talks about a lot of different things, and things that I feel that I have been writing about for, I don't know, anywhere from 16 to 36 years. And they've just basically all come out of the woodwork in 2012. Abraham Hicks has been around, I think, since the, I'm not going to say 70s, but maybe 80s. And the same as me. She was just doing things with people. I was, with her channeling, I was writing, and then writing in school, and then talking with tons of people who think that a lot of people think it's insane, but yeah, I've been like this since I was a kid, and it wasn't something where I say, like a lot of people are saying now, well, in 2012 I had my awakening. That did not happen. I was always awake. So so I can really see how people are confused. I mean, and these people have a lot of followers because they're good at what they do. They all focus on something, except for Ralph Smart. He focuses, like, kind of like me, just on a lot of different things. Aaron Dowdy, he's good too. He's got a focus here and there or whatever. But my point is, and Teal Swan, love her too. Hey, she's not here anymore. Wayne Dyer, he also passed away. I loved him. And there's Bill Proctor too. So Wayne Dyer wrote a book, his first book in the 70s, and I have it because it was my mom's. And I'll always remember the book for some reason because he had longer hair, because we were like more hippie-ish back in the 70s or whatever. And the past decade or so, whatever, he was bald and more like a, I don't know, he just kind of reminded me of also a living God. He was just so awesome. Anyway, he passed away a few years ago. So he was a motivational speaker, like Hay House. But again, they all speak about different things. The basis to every single thing that they speak about is something that I'm interested in teaching. Like all of this stuff, I know, but it wasn't meant to be my focus to talk with you about it. Mine is your belief system, the matrix, and hyperreality. Is something that I've been writing about and talking about for about 35 years. So it's my time where I'm getting not sick of writing, because I feel like I'm very focused when I write, but it's kind of hard for me sometimes to say, okay, well, let's just do this ebook or let's do whatever and then market it, and I just can't anymore. And you know, I'm not in school anymore, so I can't write that way. I can continue doing my websites and blogs, but I don't really market those either, so I just yap it up. And my focus, just so you know now, is that changing your belief system, because you can try all you want to become better at the law of attraction, but it's not, and then say it fails, but it does not fail, not once ever. It never fails. Your belief system is what is failing, and you think it's the law of attraction. Oh, it doesn't work. Sure it does. It works every single day. Every single thought that you have in your mind actually comes to fruition. You just think it doesn't because you're getting things that you don't want. So you get things that you think about, so it never fails. But if you're not intentionally thinking about something that you would like to bring into manifestation, you're going to get what your vibration is telling the universe to give you. Basically, you're like attracts like. Again, where's your frequency? You know, where's your vibration? You want something up here and your vibration's down here, this is what you're getting. You need to get up here. But it's not even just that. It's something that is a little more intentional. Because as you're thinking, I want this, I want that, I want this, but you're saying it without belief, and the lack of having it is taking over the fact that you desire it, and so you're not getting it. So all of that is true. If you think, I want this house, oh, I can never have that. Oh, how am I going to build that? How am I going to get the money for that? Oh, that's expensive. You can't have it then. I mean, you're saying you want it, but it's impossible to get, so you're not going to get it, right? So this is all to do with your belief system. So I have started to design courses like quite some time ago, and they're just still sitting there doing nothing because, well, I've explained how I am. And writing books, and I will be doing videos on it also on my other YouTube channel, Unplugged from the Matrix, semicolon, Lift the Veil, or Lifting the Veil. Again, I only have 2 videos on there. I haven't focused on that. I'm still a DJ, so I have DJ Brat with some stupid, ridiculous videos on there. Not really good. And Kindred Souls Festival, that is another YouTube of mine that barely has anything on it. So I'm getting back into my blogs and now into talking more on here and writing my books. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff with you. And do pick these people to listen to. They're really great, the people that I mentioned. Just know where your focus is, and know that before you get into something and say that it doesn't work, that you need to check yourself. Because saying something doesn't work and then not believing in it because of something that you're doing is not a valid reason for not doing it. Your belief system basically came from the powers that be in this matrix that you continue to live in. And if you believe these things to be true, that is what becomes your belief system. So you may want things, but if you don't believe you should have them, if you don't believe you're worthy, if you have bad or negative thoughts on those things that you want, it's not going to happen. You need to focus more on yourself. That's another problem. And a problem I was saying before is that this spiritual warfare, that it all started back in the day with the whole galaxy and us being able to, them being able to communicate with us when they wanted to, and noticing that the pyramids are lined up with certain parts of the galaxy for a reason, because we're supposed to go in to, let's just say, take the elevator up to the different dimensions, however you want to put it, and ascend or whatever. And some other people thought that we shouldn't have to go inside. We should be able to get to God outside. So there's this friction, this difference of opinion of how we do this. And that has never ended, ever. And it needs to end, but it hasn't ended. And so it still goes on today, and hence the things that we'll talk about, like why all of this is going on right now, and all of these interesting things. But if enough of you awaken, that would be an awesome thing. If enough of you realize that we all come from one source, and we need unity, not to be separated, because I think what happened is they've separated us so much in color and skin and social class and political views and every single thing that you can imagine, that there was no other way to separate us. And then they realized that people were sent down who were actually awake, trying to awaken other people, that they had no other choice but to do what they're doing now. And don't think for a minute that World War II ever ended, because although there were some people on the hunt for the Nazis that escaped, they weren't all found. And so, Neo this and Neo that, what you're going to find is that they were still building on all of this, and Eugenics is still an interest to some people. Running the world has been an interest for quite some time, and you're being run in it. And forced sterilization, I believe, started in California, and Hitler was interested in it. None of that ever died. Because when the people don't die, and they're still here, and they're training people, things happen. You know, you create a problem, and the problem is to distract you from other things, and then you have a solution. So, I know there's a theory on that, but you have to put distraction somewhere in there, like problem, distraction, solution. Funny thing is, though, they typically make the problem so that they can come up with a solution. Right? I mean, what was the problem back then? The Depression of 1929. Hitler was around doing things, but didn't really take charge until 1933, and then there was freaking hell on earth until 1945. So, now we have another problem. And distraction. And it's really sad how much people are distracted. And we'll talk about that another time, because I have been talking for 86 minutes. I beat my last one by 12 minutes. And my last one, by the way, I was groggy, just getting better. I still have some of these rashes, but I looked like total crap. My notifications were on, so it was bleeping me out. And then I was talking kind of low also, besides the notifications. So anyway, thank you again for listening. And don't forget to visit Lauren Blair if you're interested in goofiness and learning how to put makeup on. She's actually getting really good at it. So thanks for listening. Make peace. Be safe.